Not everything you carry home from a funeral can be seen. You walk in with love, memories, and maybe regret, but you can also walk out with something heavier, something that doesn't belong to you. Funerals aren't just about loss. They're intersections where grief, memory, and unseen energy mix. In feng shui, we understand these as high-yin spaces, places where the energy is still, dense, and emotionally saturated. The longer you linger, the more that energy settles into your thoughts, your breath, your sleep. Have you ever left a funeral feeling mentally clouded, physically exhausted, or strangely agitated? It's easy to call it stress, but in energy work, we know better. That weight might not be yours. It might be what you unknowingly absorbed. This isn't about fear, it's about respect. Just as you'd wear shoes in a muddy field, you carry protection in places where sorrow gathers, because energy is sticky, especially when it's looking for somewhere warm, somewhere alive to land. On today's episode of New Day Mindfulness, I'll share 7 simple items, things you can quietly bring to a funeral or mourning space to shield your energy, stay clear, and return home whole. Not rituals for show, just timeless, grounded tools drawn from feng shui, symbolic tradition, and generations of wisdom. A few red beans, a pinch of dried chili, a white cloth, even something as ordinary as garlic. Each holds a purpose, a pattern, a protection. And toward the end, I'll share a story about someone famous, someone you know, who never steps into spaces of grief without taking energetic precautions. Because awareness isn't just for monks or mystics, it's for anyone who carries love and doesn't want to carry someone else's sorrow home with it. Before we begin, if this message already shifts how you see your space or your energy, I invite you to gently support this channel. One like, one share, or one simple subscription helps New Day Mindfulness reach 2,000 followers. Your presence here makes it possible for us to keep offering these grounded insights, quietly reshaping how we move through the world. Now let's begin, not with fear, but with clarity, because your presence matters, and what you carry with you shapes what you carry forward. The 7 protective objects, simple carriers of intention. Number 1, red beans, carriers of life force. Red beans have long stood as more than just a nutritional staple. In traditional cultures across East and Southeast Asia, they have carried symbolic weight as vessels of vitality, warmth, and rebirth. In feng shui theory, they embody the yang principle, active, warm, assertive energy that stimulates life and movement. This is especially critical in environments where yin energy dominates, such as funerals, mourning halls, or ancestral burial grounds. In such spaces, the energy is often heavy, cool, and inward, qualities that, while necessary for closure and reverence, can overwhelm a living person's energetic field if not balanced consciously. Red beans, with their vibrant color and seed-like structure, carry an encoded resonance of life force. Seeds, after all, represent potential, contained, protected, and waiting for activation. Red, the color of fire and blood, links to warmth, protection, and auspiciousness in Chinese metaphysics. The combination of these 2 attributes transforms a simple agricultural object into an energetic talisman. Carrying red beans to a funeral isn't about invoking luck in the way we casually interpret the word. It's about creating a subtle shield, a silent reminder to your energetic system to remain whole. People who have used this method often describe feeling more grounded, less drained, and more capable of holding space for grief without absorbing it. When grief hovers in the atmosphere, it looks for places to land. And if someone walks in without an energetic anchor, the grief doesn't discriminate. It attaches. That's why red beans aren't to be worn as jewelry or displayed in a pouch for attention. Their power lies in discretion. Fold them in a piece of red tissue or paper because red amplifies their function, and place them in the left pocket which according to classical energetic anatomy is the receiving side of the body. The left side governs emotional input, spiritual sensitivity, and the tendency to absorb. Placing the beans here provides a filter, intercepting what would otherwise enter unchecked. Some traditions also advise placing them near the wrists or elbows, key junctions in the body's energy channels. In modern application, a small cloth bundle tucked inside a jacket sleeve or pant pocket is sufficient. No need for ornate pouches or elaborate rituals. The point isn't spectacle, it's frequency. Just as a tuning fork affects the sound in a room without being loud, red beans modulate the energy around your field without needing to be visible. One might ask, why not carry other red seeds or symbolic objects? While other plant seeds also represent fertility and continuity, red beans have a unique standing due to their dual use in both healing and protective ceremonies. In some Taoist exorcism rites, they're scattered across doorways to prevent wandering spirits from entering. In Japanese Obon rituals, they're offered to ancestors to guide spirits back peacefully. In Vietnamese households, red bean paste is given to postpartum mothers to restore vitality, a gesture that parallels the need for energetic recovery after exposure to mourning spaces. When you carry them to a funeral, you are not just protecting yourself from energy loss. You are honoring a lineage of wisdom that understood the subtle interactions between place, emotion, and spirit. In a contemporary context where people are often skeptical of spiritual tools but overwhelmed by emotional fatigue, the red bean practice bridges both worlds. It is simple, it is explainable, and it works. No one needs to believe in energy fields to understand that some rooms feel heavy. Red beans don't require your belief. They require only your willingness to honor what your body already knows, to respect the thin line between empathy and entanglement. 2. Dried chili, defender of the fire element. Dried chili is more than just a culinary staple or symbol of spiciness. It is, in classical energy theory, one of the most concentrated embodiments of fire element available in nature. Where red beans offer quiet warmth and vitality, chili speaks a louder language. Disruption, purification, and immediate energetic lift. This is precisely why, in contexts such as funerals or mourning halls, where yin energy settles like mist and emotional heaviness clings to everything, the presence of chili can be an energetic game changer. Not for display, not for scent, but for the pure vibrational heat it brings into your field. In feng shui and traditional folk energy practices, chili is recognized for its capacity to burn through stagnation. Its bright red skin, its sharp form, its explosive taste, all of these are manifestations of movement. Grief energy, on the other hand, is inward, still, cold, and often repetitive. It loops, it spirals, it circles, it does not move quickly, and it rarely dissolves on its own. This is where chili excels, not as a shield, but as a blade. It cuts through the volume, shakes loose emotional residue, and warms the meridians that might otherwise constrict under emotional pressure. Practically speaking, the act of carrying a single dried chili pepper, or even a pinch of chili powder sealed in red cloth or a discreet pouch, is like holding a tiny, silent furnace. Unlike incense or essential oils, which dissipate or announce themselves through scent, chili's energy is felt without being noticed. It does not need to be touched or even consciously acknowledged. Its frequency does the work. That's why it's especially effective for those who are sensitive to energy, but find themselves overwhelmed by strong emotions in mourning spaces. Even a skeptical mind can't argue with how warm the body feels when chili is near, and that warmth has a purpose. There's also a lesser-known application rooted in Taoist house protection rituals. Strings of dried chili are often hung over doorways, particularly during Ghost Month, or ancestral festivals to deter wandering spirits. But at the individual level, chili serves the same function, not to scare or offend, but to remind intrusive energies that this field, this person, is too vital, too bright to inhabit. And that's the real function here. Dried chili keeps your light burning. It doesn't block grief, it keeps grief moving. That's an important distinction, because healthy grief is supposed to move through you, not lodge in your shoulders or blur your clarity days after the ceremony. In moments where your nervous system might constrict, like during a funeral speech or while standing near a grave, just quietly holding the pouch containing the chili may bring a sudden heat or internal alertness. That's not psychosomatic. That's the fire reminding your body it's still alive, that you're still home in your own space. And when you leave that place of mourning and discard your chili pouch, as many do after use, it's a symbolic closing of the energetic loop. You don't bring the fire home. You let it finish the victim on site. In essence, dried chili is not just a spice. It is an ancient, portable flame. In the face of spiritual heaviness, it does not scream or fight. It simply burns. And that quiet combustion might be the most sacred defense of all. 3. Lemongrass oil, the wind to clear the fog. Lemongrass oil, though commonly associated with spa treatments or Southeast Asian cuisine, holds a deeper energetic role in traditional cleansing practices. Across Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, and parts of southern China, lemongrass has long been used not merely for its scent, but for its movement, its ability to stir stagnant energy, awaken sluggish circulation, and invite clarity where confusion or heaviness once settled. In the energetic framework of feng shui, where spatial flow is paramount, lemongrass embodies the quality of wind. It does not anchor, it does not absorb, it disperses. And when entering a space as dense as a funeral, where sadness often lingers like invisible humidity, lemongrass becomes the breath your energy field didn't know it needed. Grief, especially collective grief, tends to slow the air, not literally but energetically. The aura begins to feel as though it's wrapped in gauze. Sound is muffled, thoughts dull, limbs heavy. This is yin in its thickest form. Not evil, not negative, simply slow and enveloping. Lemongrass oil cuts through that without the aggression of fire or the weight of earth. It lifts, it clarifies, it returns motion to what has been still too long. That is why in so many traditional houses across Southeast Asia, lemongrass is used not only in food or herbal medicine, but in home cleansing rituals, boiled, spritzed, or burned to refresh the energy after illness, arguments, or death. Its application at funerals is equally discreet and effective. A single drop dabbed behind each ear activates your sensory perimeter, subtly alerting your nervous system to stay present, stay clear. A touch at the base of the skull, where your neck meets spine, grounds your upper chakras and reinforces boundary between thought and absorption. And if applied lightly to the soles of the feet, lemongrass becomes a diffuser from below, allowing energy to exit that might otherwise try to linger inside. These aren't rituals meant to attract attention. They're actions meant to whisper to your energy field, stay awake, stay sovereign. Unlike dried chili, which defends, or red beans, which preserve, lemongrass purifies. It doesn't hold energy, it moves it. It's the wind chime after the storm, the open window after days of closed grief. Its citrusy notes don't clash with mourning. They gently remind the soul that life continues moving, even in the face of loss. This makes it ideal for those who are particularly sensitive, empathetic, or easily overwhelmed in group mourning spaces. It creates a kind of inner breeze, subtle but continuous, ensuring that emotional fog doesn't thicken inside you. And perhaps its most beautiful quality, Lemongrass doesn't just cleanse the space, it refreshes the person. Those who use it regularly during emotionally charged rituals often describe feeling clearer, lighter, even slightly more hopeful, without having to force optimism. It's not about covering grief with fake cheer. It's about giving grief room to breathe, to move, to release. So if you walk into a funeral already tired, already heavy, already worn by the weight of goodbye, let lemongrass walk in with you. Let it drift in like wind between curtains. Not demanding, not dominating, just gently clearing space for you to feel only what is yours, and let the rest float quietly past. 4. White cloth or handkerchief. The absorber. A white cloth or handkerchief may seem like the most ordinary item one could carry to a funeral, but within the logic of energetic practices, particularly those rooted in spatial and personal feng shui, it becomes one of the most quietly powerful tools you can bring. In traditional cultures across Asia and even in parts of Eastern Europe, white fabric has long been associated not only with mourning, but with containment. It doesn't repel energy like chili, nor does it ignite warmth like red beans. Instead, it absorbs, silently, humbly. That is its nature, to hold without judgment, to carry without spilling, to offer space for what the heart is not yet ready to process. Grief, when shared collectively, has a ripple effect. Everyone in the room carries their own sorrow, and the air becomes heavy with emotional density. The energetic atmosphere thickens, and in such environments, our nervous systems, especially for those who are emotionally open or energetically porous, become highly receptive. This receptivity can be both a gift and a burden. Without a buffer, grief that's not ours can cling to our emotional field, distorting our sleep, our thoughts, and even our mood days afterward. The white cloth acts as that buffer, not to reject the moment, but to offer it somewhere to land that isn't inside you. The cloth should be soft but firm, clean but not overly precious. Cotton, muslin, linen, natural fibers are best, as they retain and release energy more cleanly than synthetics. It is not a tissue. It is not for your face. You do not wipe tears with it. You hold it in your left hand, because the left side of the body in energy anatomy is your receiving side. This is the side through which we take in appearance, emotion, vibration. Holding the cloth in this hand offers your system a choice: to let the grief pass into the cloth, not into your chest. Think of it as emotional lightning grounding itself not through your skin, but through something designed to hold it. In some funeral traditions, mourners are given a white ribbon or armband to wear. Again, not for display, but for energetic absorption. In others, handkerchiefs are offered before the viewing or the burial, then collected afterward and burned or buried, a symbolic act of containing and then releasing collective sorrow. In your own practice, this can be adapted easily. After the funeral, wash the cloth separately from other garments, using salt water if available, or discard it entirely, especially if the grief was particularly intense. This act of completion is essential. To carry it home unwashed is to keep the energy open. What's most poetic about this method is its quiet dignity. The cloth doesn't shout its function. It doesn't protect you with fire or fragrance or prayer. It simply holds. And in that holding, it allows you to remain present at the funeral, to honor, to grieve, to remember, without becoming the vessel for someone else's pain. For empaths, for caretakers, for those who always feel more than they can name, this simple cloth becomes not just a tool, but a sanctuary. Because in the end, protection doesn't always look like armor. Sometimes it looks like softness, like stillness, like a white handkerchief held in silence, doing the work you don't even realize you need, until you walk away feeling just a little bit lighter. 5. Garlic clove, the silent protector. Garlic may be one of the most familiar ingredients in the kitchen, but in the world of energy protection and environmental balance, it stands as one of the most powerful silent protectors, especially in emotionally and spiritually heavy spaces like funerals. Long before it was known for its antibacterial or cardiovascular benefits, garlic was revered in agrarian and energetic traditions for its ability to ward off harmful influences, not metaphorically but energetically. Its pungent smell, its sharp internal compounds, and even its earthy growth underground all contribute to its function as a root-bound agent of defense. In feng shui and traditional energy systems, sulfur, the key component responsible for garlic's scent, is seen as energetically volatile. That volatility is not chaotic. Rather, it actively repels what's trying to linger in stillness. Think of garlic as a biological broom, sweeping away unseen residues that try to cling to your energetic field. Where grief creates vulnerability, garlic creates density. It grounds, it anchors, it tells wandering energy, this body is occupied, there is no room here. This is particularly useful in funeral settings, where the atmosphere is thick with yin energy, cool, dense, passive, and full of emotional echo. People come to grieve, but many also come carrying unresolved pain, regret, and loss. The space becomes layered with unshed tears and ancestral longing. Garlic's job is not to block that emotion. Its job is to filter it. Like a stone at the river's edge, it lets the current flow, but prevents the silt from clouding your waters. The method is simple but precise. One peeled clove, preferably fresh and firm, is wrapped in a clean tissue or thin cloth. It should be carried close to the abdomen, ideally near the solar plexus. This is the core of your personal power, your will, and your digestion of emotional energy. In Chinese medicine and energy anatomy, this is where worry collects, and where outside energy can quickly weaken your defenses. By placing the garlic here, you place a boundary, not a wall, but a membrane, enough to allow presence, but not invasion. Children and elders, in particular, benefit from this protection. Children are open fields. Their boundaries are still forming. They absorb what's around them far more easily than adults. Elders, on the other hand, may have thinned energetic shields due to age or illness. For both, garlic acts not only as a protector, but as a stabilizer, holding them in their own field so that grief does not overrun them. There is no need for ritual around it, no chanting, no explaining. The power is not in the drama, it is in the placement, the intention, and the knowing. And when the funeral is over, the garlic should not be reused. Discard it into the soil or wrap it tightly and dispose of it respectfully. It has done its job. It has carried what your body did not need to. Garlic doesn't seek attention. It doesn't dazzle or fragrance the air. It simply stands firm, rooted, and ready. In a place where people come to say goodbye, garlic ensures you don't take anything home that was never yours to carry in the first place. That, in its own quiet way, is both a protection and a profound act of love. 6. Your personal object, energetic identity, anchor, among the tools that protect and stabilize your energy during emotionally charged experiences. None is more personal or more potent than an object you already cherish. While red beans, garlic, chili, and lemongrass offer targeted energetic benefits, the item that carries the deepest imprint is the one you've lived with, touched, or held close over time. A jade ring passed down from your grandmother, a bronze coin from your travels, a locket with a faded photograph, a leather bracelet that's absorbed your sweat and your stories. These items aren't just physical, they are energetic extensions of you. And in environments like funerals where grief has a way of loosening your internal boundaries, such an object becomes an anchor, not to resist emotion, but to remind you who you are in the midst of it. In energetic terms, personal objects that have been in close contact with you, touching your skin, absorbing your scent, traveling in your pocket, form an intimate circuit with your field. They carry your energetic imprint, your patterns, your sense of center. And when you enter a place full of collective sorrow, where emotional resonance is high and often unfiltered, these objects quietly reinforce your sovereignty, not as shields, as mirrors. They reflect your own essence back to you, especially when your inner compass feels temporarily overwhelmed. This is why it matters that the object is meaningful to you, not just aesthetically, but emotionally. You cannot assign this job to a random item or something new from a shelf. It must be lived in, familiar, something that already holds memory, preferably associated with moments of strength, clarity, or groundedness. That memory becomes your armor, not against grief itself, but against getting energetically entangled in what doesn't belong to you. Practical use is beautifully simple. Before entering the morning space, hold the object in your dominant hand for a moment. Breathe with it. Let your system remember its weight, its feel. Place it in your pocket, wear it on your wrist, or keep it close to your solar plexus if it's small. During moments where the emotional climate starts to blur, when you feel dizzy, emotionally porous, or disoriented, touch it again. It is not about superstition. It is about calibration. Just as you might glance at a compass in the forest, this item reminds you which way is home. Some people have used their wedding rings in this way. Others carry a smooth stone picked up during a solo hike, or a key from their childhood home. For Steve Jobs, known for his obsessive spatial discipline, his wire-rimmed glasses and minimalist watch weren't just fashion. They were energetic anchors. He chose every item he wore with intention because he knew design affects behavior. And in highly charged spaces, behavior affects energy, and energy affects memory. It's all connected. So when you prepare for a funeral, don't just dress in black and bring tissues. Bring yourself, your whole self, and let that small, trusted object you already love do what it's always done silently. Hold your center. Because in a place where people lose so much, your job isn't to lose yourself too. It's to feel, to grieve, and still remain you. Quietly, completely, and without apology. 7. Small bill or coin. Completing the exchange, among all the protective objects shared for navigating the dense emotional terrain of a funeral, the small bill or coin stands out, not for its strength or symbolism alone, but for the simple yet profound purpose it serves, completing the energetic exchange. In everyday life, we often overlook how many transactions we engage in without currency. Emotional, mental, spiritual exchanges that have weight but no receipt. Funerals are one of those spaces. You give presence, compassion, grief, and often a piece of yourself. Without something to close that loop, the energetic debt lingers. You carry it home, sometimes unknowingly, and it settles into your field like a promise left unpaid. In many traditional cultures, Chinese, Vietnamese, Greek, and even parts of rural Europe, money plays a role in rites of passage, not for material gain, but for spiritual closure. Funeral ceremonies often involve coins placed in caskets, bills folded into prayer envelopes, or small donations left at temple altars. These aren't offerings to the deceased as much as acknowledgments to the energetic universe. We came, we felt, we now release. Carrying a small bill or coin, ideally the local currency, something you would naturally spend, is a way of bridging that wisdom into your modern routine. It doesn't matter whether it's a crisp note or a well-worn coin. What matters is that you assign it meaning before stepping into the funeral space. This is the marker. This is the closer. This is the quiet promise to yourself. I will not carry home what does not belong to me. During the funeral, the money stays in your pocket, wallet, or pouch. It's not to be flaunted, it's not to be counted. It waits, it absorbs. It represents that you understand energy as a flow, not a one-way channel. And afterward, this is key, you must spend it. Do not keep it. Do not save it. Spend it within 24 hours, ideally on something grounding and human. A meal with loved ones, incense for your altar, or tea shared in silence. The act of spending reopens the channel, letting grief exit, letting energy return to balance. It is not indulgence, it is circulation. Psychologically, this small ritual reaffirms your autonomy. It reminds your nervous system that the moment has passed and you are returning to a new normal, not weighed down, not confused, but integrated. Some describe the experience as subtle, a lightness that follows, a deep sigh released once the money is spent. Others experience a more vivid shift, a headache lifted, a dream resolved, a lingering discomfort gone. What matters most is that you don't intellectualize it too much. The coin is not a cure, it is a companion, a bridge between worlds. Just as you wouldn't finish a meal and walk away from the table without paying, don't exit a funeral space without closing the loop. Energy, like breath, like memory, must be honored both in entrance and exit. The small coin or bill ensures you do both, with grace. It is the full stop at the end of a sentence. The last step on sacred ground before you step, once again, into the light of your everyday life. Complete, clean, whole. Cleanse after returning, resetting your threshold. After returning from a funeral, your physical presence may have left the ceremonial space, but the energy of that environment often lingers subtly, clinging to the fibers of your clothing, resting in the layer just above your skin, and quietly influencing your emotional field. This isn't superstition, it's energetic hygiene. Just as you would rinse off physical dirt after walking through a muddy road, so too must you gently clear the unseen residue carried from places of collective grief and high-yin concentration. This process doesn't require spiritual dramatics, just intention, care, and simple physical actions that reset your energetic boundaries. Step 1 is deceptively important. Change your clothes immediately. Do not, under any circumstance, sit or lie on your bed while still wearing what you wore to the funeral. Beds are where we regenerate, where the body drops into vulnerability and deep repair. Funeral clothing, infused with the low, slow frequency of loss and remembrance, should not enter that zone. Changing your clothes is more than just a physical refresh. It marks the psychological and energetic boundary between the ceremonial experience and the return to personal space. Place the clothes in a laundry basket or directly into the wash. Do not let them linger in a pile. This simple act helps reestablish the clarity of your field. Step 2 is cleansing your body's gateways, your hands and feet. These are the points through which we engage most directly with the world. We shake hands. We walk sacred ground. Energetically, they are our receivers and transmitters. Washing them with warm water infused with ginger, citrus peel, or sea salt serves multiple purposes. Ginger stimulates circulation and reawakens yang energy. Citrus cuts through emotional heaviness and uplifts the spirit. Sea salt neutralizes stagnant charge and purifies without leaving a trace. Let the water run over your skin, not just as a rinse, but as a signal. What is not mine is now released. You can pour the water slowly over your feet into a basin, or use a towel soaked in the blend to wipe yourself down, focusing especially on the soles and palms. Step 3 engages your space. After addressing the body, open your windows for 10 to 15 minutes. Not to deodorize, but to shift the air. In classical feng shui, the flow of natural qi, energy, is influenced directly by wind and light. When you open the windows, even briefly, you're inviting fresh yang energy to circulate and gently push out anything heavy or sluggish that may have followed you home. It's especially helpful to do this near entrances, corners, or areas you tend to spend the most time in after returning, such as your kitchen or bedroom. Optionally, you can light a stick of agarwood or sandalwood incense and trace it lightly around the threshold of your home. In feng shui, the front door is considered the mouth of qi, the main portal through which energy enters and exits your life. Wafting incense here is like brushing the teeth of your home, refreshing its breath and clearing any remnants of grief or emotional charge. The gentle spiral of smoke moving upward signals transition, from grief to healing, from closure to presence. This entire process, changing clothes, cleansing hands and feet, opening windows, lighting incense, takes no more than 20 minutes. Yet its impact is profound. It's not about denial of grief or erasing the weight of the funeral. It's about choosing what comes with you and what stays behind. It is a gentle reminder that honoring others doesn't mean losing your own grounding. It is a ritual of return, not just to your house, but to yourself, clean, whole, unburdened, and ready again to walk forward. Modern Story, the actress who understood energy boundaries. In a world obsessed with image and noise, there are some public figures who maintain a quiet but unwavering relationship with the unseen. One such figure is Sandra Bullock, an actress celebrated not only for her performances, but for the grace and groundedness with which she carries herself, particularly in the face of profound personal loss. After the passing of her beloved mother, Helga Meyer, Sandra was seen attending memorial ceremonies and public appearances holding small, symbolic objects. Not extravagant, not ornamental, but meaningful. And she didn't do it for cameras. These weren't accessories. They were shields, quiet protectors that whispered to her energy field, "Stay centered, stay clear, stay whole." In a rare interview from 2018, she shared a sentence that speaks volumes. "It's not about blocking grief, it's about not confusing it with your own pain." This distinction is vital. In spaces where collective sorrow gathers, be it a funeral, a vigil, or a memorial, it's easy to become so open, so empathetic, that you begin to absorb pain that isn't fully yours. Grief, after all, is fluid. It fills the room and seeks vessels. But Sandra's approach reflects the wisdom of ancient practices: to witness grief fully without drowning in it, to honor it without losing your own emotional compass. It is believed, though never publicly confirmed, that she's worked quietly with traditional energy consultants over the years, not for spectacle, but for personal clarity. Her gestures are subtle: a smooth stone in her pocket, a soft piece of white fabric held in her hand, essential oils dabbed discreetly behind the ear. These acts are not religious. They're not dramatic. They're human. They're grounded in the same principles found in feng shui and classical energy alignment, that in moments of transition, we must know how to protect the boundaries between the ceremony and the self. What Sandra Bullock models is not a celebrity quirk. It is a teachable posture, the willingness to feel deeply without carrying unnecessary weight home. You don't need fame or fortune to adopt this mindset. You don't need a stylist to carry garlic in your pocket or a press team to cleanse your door frame. You only need presence and the desire to preserve what is still alive in you: your clarity, your direction, your ability to love without depletion. In a society that glamorizes endurance, perhaps the more revolutionary act is to protect your peace, to choose softness with structure, to say gently but firmly, "This is as much sorrow as I can hold. The rest I release." Sandra Bullock did it with grace. So can you. Not because you're pretending to be okay, but because your energy deserves to be treated with the same care you give to your grief. That, in the end, is the most sacred boundary of all. Final. You don't carry these items out of superstition. You carry them the same way you wear a coat in the rain, not because you fear the weather, but because you understand it. When we attend a funeral, we enter a place that has held stories, endings, and goodbyes. The air carries more than words. The walls remember. And even if you don't believe in spirits, what you do believe about emotion, about presence, about respect, matters deeply. Energy is not mystical, it's practical. It's why we open windows when a room feels stuffy, why we step outside to clear our head, why we feel drained after difficult conversations or strange heaviness after leaving a hospital. We've all felt it, we just don't always name it. Think of these tools: garlic, chili, red beans, lemongrass, cloth, coins, not as charms but as gestures. Quiet acknowledgments that certain places deserve more from us. Not more emotion, more awareness. You wouldn't eat from a dirty plate. You wouldn't wear clothes soaked in someone else's sweat. And in the same way, we should be mindful of what we energetically wear after walking through a space of grief. It doesn't mean blocking pain. It means giving it a place to move through us, not stay inside us. You don't need to try everything. Start with just one item. Maybe it's the white cloth, maybe it's lemongrass oil, maybe it's a coin you choose to spend as a way of closing the loop. Use it the next time you attend a mourning event. Then pay attention, not during the ceremony, but afterward. How do you feel when you return home? Is your sleep deeper? Is your body lighter? Are your thoughts clearer? That's where the energy speaks, not in drama, but in what no longer lingers. The beauty of these practices is their humility. They don't ask for faith, only care. They don't demand rituals, only attention. They don't fight grief, they walk alongside it, guiding you gently through a space where others may feel lost. Grief will visit all of us. It is part of being human, but it doesn't have to take root where it doesn't belong. You can witness pain without becoming it. You can honor endings without dragging them into every room you enter afterward. And so I leave you with this final reflection. Grief may pass through you, but it doesn't have to settle in you. What you carry in silence becomes your loudest protection. If this video offered you clarity, comfort, or simply a new way to understand your space and self, I warmly invite you to share it with someone you care about. Comment below, what object would you carry and why? And if this wisdom resonates, please consider subscribing to New Day Mindfulness. With your support, we are growing toward 2,000 followers and beyond, not for numbers, but to build a home where tradition, energy, and quiet strength have space to be heard.